Now I can finally remove Made with Unity Splash without paying anything to Unity and secretly make my game without letting the world know that I used Unity. On September 12, 2023, Unity announced their new runtime pricing plan, which charges up to 20 cents per install. And ever since they announced it, game developers and player communities have been outraged. After 10 long days, they announced a new plan. Is this better than the old announcement? Will Unity recover its fame? Hello world from Hello World, this is Mono, your Unity teacher from the hell. It has been a long 10 days for the game development community. During this time, tons of game developers, studios, and game players were upset about Unity's new runtime pricing policy. Golda received tons of donations and investments. Developers started to learn new game engines, and Unity lost their trust. It was long enough for some game studios to change their roadmap. Then, on September 22nd, 2023, Unity finally updated their new policy. So, in a very short word, Unity announced that they will charge 2.5% for the products which exceed 1 million gross revenue for last 12 months, which is lower than Unreal's 5%. The interesting part is that they didn't want to give up their runtime pricing policy, so they announced that studios can choose between a fee per install or 2.5% of the revenue, and the developers can choose the lower amount of the fee. The runtime fee will be charged based on the self-report of the studio. Details about the runtime fee have changed a bit. When you use Unity Personal License, you cannot pay based on the runtime fee. You should always pay 2.5% of the gross revenue. But if you use Unity Pro or Industry License, you can choose whatever is cheaper. I personally think the runtime policy part is a bit unnecessary. It only makes everything a bit more complicated. Why not make it simple? Just charge 2.5%? It feels like they just didn't want to throw away their original plans. Yeah, they claim it is for developers. Okay, I will buy it. If you want to avoid those additional fees, you can stick to the old Unity LTS versions. Unity announced their terms of service would not change for the previously released versions. So any Unity versions released this year, so 2023, the new pricing policy doesn't apply. Any games or softwares made with Unity released from 2024 will charge extra. They made an interesting offer for indie developers or small individuals, and they announced that the Made with Unity Splash will disappear for the Unity Personal License. Now I can secretly make my game without letting the world know that I used Unity. Often, removing the splash was the reason to purchase their licenses, and this splash acted as an advertisement for the engines as well. Well, maybe Unity is now popular enough so they don't need to advertise the company, or notorious enough so developers want to hide it. Anyway, it is a good change for hobbyists or small games. But for them, it would be less likely to be hit by Unity's changed pricing policy anyway. So I would perceive this decision is just to get their community back. They also raised the annual revenue and funding limit to $200,000 from $100,000. Yes, the new plan seems somehow reasonable because we already saw something crazy and insane. But for many studios who are successful enough to make more than $1 million in revenue already pay for their licenses, which cost $2,040 per seat annually, and adding 2.5% of $1 million would be an additional financial burden. Studios can just not update their Unity versions and keep developing in old versions, but at some point, the old Unity version is old enough without having support for the new features or C# versions. So there will be a time when studios have to move on. Well, I'm pretty much sure each studio will calculate their profits and make reasonable decisions. Even though it isn't that easy to move on to a new engine in a second, studios have to train employees on new tools or hire new people, and quite likely some developers might want to leave the studio during the process. Changing the engine isn't the easiest decision for the companies, but for some games and studios, an open source game engine Godot is also quite tempting solution. I personally wish Godot to be as powerful as Blender in near future. I personally am glad that Unity announced something reasonable, but still it is a rapid change. Will the new pricing plans still be financially beneficial for the companies? Or will Unity lose more money in the future? But if you like my video, don't forget to press like and subscribe to my channel. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!